to order. The clerk will note that all supervisors are present, in addition to the clerk administrator, the office assistant, and treasurer. Thank you, everybody, for coming, and welcome. If you have cell phones, if you wouldn't mind turning them off or on vibrate, so as not to interrupt the meeting. And a reminder to the board to speak into the microphones. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Are there any deletions to the agenda? If not, I'll move the approval of the agenda as presented. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion by Lowry, seconded by Forkert. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Next, we have the special board meeting of the 22nd of January. Are there any additions or corrections? If not, the chair will move approval as presented.
Second.
Motion by Lowry, seconded by Farber. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. And then we have the minutes of the regular board meeting of January 15th. Are there any additions or corrections? I've got a question, Janet, that I noticed that you were going to contact Kelly Mazuski. Have you heard from her in reference to the Heritage Road, or, I'm sorry, Rustic Roads?
No, I have not.
And then the other question I had is, no, that was it, so. Anybody else have any questions? If not, I'll move their approval as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
We're going around the corner on seconding. Motion by Lowry, seconded by Gaz. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Treasurer's report, Janet?
Okay, in the municipal checking account, we began with a balance of $1,592,577.41. After a transfer to checking, we received our transportation aid, tax deposits, and interest. The balance in that account at the end of January was $3,916,984 and a penny. In the money market account, our loan proceeds went into that account, and with the beginning balance and interest, the balance in that account is $460,142.46. In the checking account, we began with a balance of $265,449.25. Transfer and deposits minus the FICA, the state withholding, our yearly bank fees, which totaled $389.97, and that is yearly. Payroll and disbursements, the balance in that account at the end of January came to $52,167.57. The utility district's balance was $249,471.31. And in the North Shore money market account, a little bit of interest brought that balance to $515.84, with a balance at the end of January in all town accounts of $4,679,281.19.
Any questions?
I'll make a motion to accept the treasurer's report as presented.
I'll second. Motion by Gaz, seconded by Lowry. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. Next on the agenda is public input. This is an opportunity for people in attendance to address the board on any subject, and also to address the board on agendized subject. And if you'd wish to address us on agendized subject, we'll need to put your name down, and so we can call on you at the appropriate time. Before we get to that point, I've asked Bud to get us a clarification on the available salt that we have at this point in time, we're in pretty decent shape, so. Bud?
When I ordered salt 2 times ago, they said we only had 83 ton left, and that was kind of a surprise because my records indicated we have 306 ton. I called up Overland Park, where the original determination was from the Fox River Dock in Green Bay. I called up Overland Park, who does the main distribution of salt and the salt program. We're on the state buying program along with Door County at $55.81 per ton. We got it cleared up, and at this point, we have used 455 ton, and we have approximately 145 left. We put in for 600 ton. We needed to fill our salt building last fall and then have some for the winter. So when I talked to Overland Park, they said that we were in better shape than most because seeing how the winter is running this year, salt apparently is at a premium. If we'd have to buy extra, if we ran out here, we would be paying quite a bit more.
Okay, anybody have questions? One other thing, tomorrow night at 6 o'clock in the hall, the Door County Parks Committee has scheduled a informational meeting on the removal of trees in the county, north end in the county parks that are diseased. We haven't heard at this point in time if there's any thoughts of cancellation. If the weather goes haywire, we'll get it up on the website. And of course, you can always, call the town office to find out. But right now, that meeting is on a go situation. Okay, anybody with general comments they want to make to the board? Paul? Please.
Yeah, Paul Schwengel, 824 Top of the Thumb Lane, Gills Rock. Briefly, I just want to thank the board and the individuals that wrote letters in support of our fish stocking. We did get approved for 30,000 king salmon to be planted in Gills Rock, and our group is going to go ahead with our penning activities. And in addition to that, today I witnessed 5,000 brown trout stocked also. So thanks again for your support. I'm sure it went a long way.
Thank you. Other general comments? Susan?
Susie Watson, Gills Rock. At the last board meeting, during public input, as well as during the listed agenda topics, audience members spoke about different issues for approximately 10 minutes. And one of the comments made by John Ludwigson that night was that the minutes do not sufficiently reflect what happens in a meeting, often by simple omission. This criticism has already been leveled by myself and others during public input. The minutes from the last meeting read as follows concerning the public input from those in the audience. Quote, comments on budget, minutes, Isleview Road, and a study on sludge disposal by Sister Bay Utilities were heard, end quote. That's all. There's no detail whatsoever. We need the board to agree and insist that the clerk include detail on what is said during public input during the meetings in the future. Otherwise, we'll be suspect that none of you are interested in public input and it doesn't have any value or meaning in the process of a town government. After reading several concise yet informative minutes from committee meetings that Janet has written, you might want to consider having her do the minutes. She's a very good summarizer. I got a good sense of what happened at meetings that she wrote the minutes for. On another topic, purchasing, I have some information that I hope will help you in your goal to cut costs. I chose as the example the plasma cutter that you just purchased. After getting the exact make and model from the town, Lou got me that, I was able to spend less than 10 minutes researching to find a better price for it. I found it in 2 places for $79.50 less and $138.50 less than where you purchased it, both with free shipping. I have copies for you here to just look at. The amount you spent did not include shipping, and although Bud has said that he went down and picked it up in Green Bay without charging the town for his time or gas, it really isn't probably the best use of his time. The point is this, every major company employs a purchasing department. to negotiate and research purchase of equipment, services, et cetera. And it was once something that only corporations could afford. Today, the internet has in many ways replaced this expensive necessity, and it's available to every one of you for quick checks like I did. If you need help in learning how to do it, I can assist you in that in just a few minutes' time. But it's very important, we think, that you look and be very competitive pricing for anything that you're doing. On the same topic, there was talk at the last meeting about you can't just lowball everything and buy the cheapest version. But you also have no need for the most expensive version. Your mindset needs to be somewhere in the middle if you want us to believe that you're truly trying to cut costs. When you were discussing the wood for the boardwalk at Hotz Park, you were shooting for the most expensive and endangered rainforest wood before Frank brought you back to reality and suggested cedar with his decades of expertise in dock building. In the case of the plasma cutter, be assured you have the very top of the line, caviar version of a plasma cutter. If you want to see voter-supported increases in future budgets, your challenge is to prove to us that you can be more economical in your decisions on both goods and services. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I'm just going
give you
this.
Hugh Mullick in North Bay. I just had a quick question for Janet. It wasn't, the loan proceeds was 250,000. I didn't quite catch the amount there. Was that for the purchase of the fire truck? Is that what, and how much is the fire truck?
It's paid up.
Pardon me?
Our portion, I believe, is 2/3 of the total cost.
And what is the total cost?
It was 1 million, wasn't it? We'd have to go back and pull out the exact figures that the fire board
He might be-
brought to us. Do you remember?
You might be talking about the new
It's
one.
pretty close
Or
to
you, wait a minute, which
375.
truck are you talking about?
I don't know, there was a loan amount that you took a loan for two.
Oh, the new one.
Pumper truck.
Oh, the new bumper, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's about 375.
375.
We say about because there's still some negotiations on what equipment does or doesn't go on that. specific
And we
thing.
paid 2/3 of that?
Yes.
Yeah, we
Thank you.
get 2/3 of the fire calls in the joint fire department.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else, general comments? Front row, anybody on any agendized item? Jim? Okay. That would be 10B? Yep. Anybody else? Second row, please. Second row. Third row, please. And fourth row. Susan?
7 and 11.
Those lucky numbers? Carol?
7, and I just actually want to know if there has been if it's been, information has been provided related to what roads, what town roads are being proposed for some of the snowmobile trails. I'm sorry, is it on the website?
No, we have the list in front of us, we'll read it off.
Okay, so
All right.
is it possible to get a copy
I'll
of
get
that?
it up there.
Oh, wait a minute, she can get it up.
It's on the website.
While we're waiting for that, anybody else in the last row? Okay.
In that case, I would like to make a comment for number 7.
Number 7? Yeah, I've got you down for 7. Okay, let's move on then to the snowmobile routes. Susan?
I saw the list, I'm just curious,
Oh.
I don't know if there's new information about a new
Yes,
plan
about
or
there.
something. I just saw the list of roads
Okay.
online, because that is online,
Okay,
but I don't know what it means so far.
okay, we'll get to that in just a second, then we'll explain it. Carol, 7?
I have just a question to ask, should I do it up there?
Yeah, please.
Okay. I am actually learning about this for the first time within the last few days related to the trails on town roads. and am shocked that Garrett Bay Road would be considered as, and I'm sure there's others there that I don't even know about that are being considered. My question would be, is there something that would need to be done to the roads in order to make them accessible to snowmobiles?
No.
Okay, so it's not like a bicycle trail which would need to
Yeah.
be built, whatever.
Right.
They would possibly be riding on part of the road and part of the shoulder, and,
They use the shoulder.
okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, back to the board. Bud, you want to make a comment on this?
This list of snowmobile of roads are the roads that the snowmobile club uses in order to get between trails, that the trail comes out on the road and it doesn't start up again until a little ways down the road. This section, or the section of these roads would join those two trails so they can continue and complete the circuit of trails in the town.
Questions on the board?
And we forward.
Considering snowmobiling has been going on for quite some time.
Yeah.
We forward this to the sheriff's department, so they know if they see somebody riding along these roads that they're doing it on a proper road.
Oh,
And do we need to install signage saying that there's a snowmobile crossing, or
we have not.
like we do for
asked.
pedestrians?
The club
The club
usually
does.
does that.
Clubs do?
And is North Badger considered the same as Badger, Bud? Because North Badger is definitely used as well. as a town road.
Yes, it would be.
Okay.
Okay. The chair will entertain a motion to approve the roads that are listed. The chair will make the motion to approve the roads that are listed from the Top of the Thumb Snowmobile Club. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Lowry, seconded by Farber. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Approved? Oh, excuse me. It is approved. Thank you. Going on then to consider course of action regarding properties at 11976 Highway 42 and 11850 County NP. These are the properties that we've been having ongoing discussions about. The county has issued a May 14th, I believe, deadline. Am I correct, Nancy? I think it was May 14th.
May 7th.
May
Or
7th,
May
yeah,
7th, I'm sorry.
2014.
And Nancy brought up a concern on this, that just to reinforce that there's a distinct possibility because of the snow conditions and so forth, we're going to get a request for more extended time. And I guess the board needs to discuss whether we consider that or whether enough is enough.
I talked to John Teichler today.
Yeah.
He said he's aware of the letter, and I talked to him about it, and he said that prior to this date, he would be coming up to inspect the property and see what kind of condition it was in. The normal course of events would be to, his words were coddling the people along, not necessarily here, but in all circumstances, and that they've been attempted to be persuaded to clean it up when John and Laverne were alive. And now that Kathy and Bart are working there on it, he said that the next step would be a citation. He said he would come up sometime before May 7th, and I asked him if he would let us know so we could maybe go with him. Somebody from the board could go with him to observe what the condition might be, and then that he was very agreeable to that.
Good.
I did mention the parcel on NP. He wasn't, he was somewhat aware of it, but not in the light that we're looking at it. And he said he would probably take a look at that at the same time.
Good.
Can we still go on the property even though there's a letter saying that we are not allowed?
Should really not be going on it.
But I mean, can we go on the property with him?
That we'll have to find out from him.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Well, that's somewhat comforting. My concern was that the last time anything was done was August, and nothing was done between them, and there was plenty of decent weather between August and snow flying. And nothing was done, and I just, saw the potential for, especially with this winter, for, oh my gosh, the winter's been so harsh, but yet, I just didn't want to see it drag on and on. I wanted John Teichler to be aware that there was
And-
time wasted there.
I did indicate that, that citizens had been helping out there,
Yeah.
trying to get some dumpster loads out of there, and it had happened, and he sounded fairly firm that that would be his next step.
Okay, good. Thanks, Bud.
And I guess I feel, as Nancy does on this, that we've kind of gone along and along and along on this, and at some point in time, we simply have to say, I'm sorry, time's up. So we'll wait until we see what Mr. Teichler says and when he comes up and go from there. Agreeable? Okay. All right, election workers, we have a list, poll worker list. It would be Susan Haas, Diane McNeil, Patsy Mickelson, Gloria Johnson, Carol Mooney, Joanne Peterson, Janet Johnson, and Melanie Johnson. I'll move the approval of the poll worker list. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Farber. All in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. That list doesn't change much from year to year, does it?
Hardly at all.
It might this year.
Okay. All right, then going on to the Plan Commission recommendations. The first one is denial of variance to construct a garage on vacant adjacent land, the Laurel and William Zelnino at 22319 Waters End Road. Nancy?
Okay, this was another one of those difficult decisions, and it was a very close vote at the Plan Commission level. Three of the commissioners recommended support for the variance, and some of the reasoning being that they thought the request for a 24-foot by 28-foot storage garage was not that huge, even though it was more than what would be allowed on an empty lot. Four of the commissioners were a little more circumspect about the size of the garage on the empty lot, and there was some discussion also about the three criteria of the law. I think most of the commissioners felt that there was a hardship there because of the town road between the two properties. They were unable to join them. Had they been able to do so, they would have had an opportunity for an over-the-counter permit. However, those that were looking more carefully at the law felt that if the garage were to be scaled down a little closer to what is normally allowed on a vacant property, instead of granting relief in excess, we would be granting, if we decided to grant, the minimum relief as we're advised to do according to the state. As a result, when the vote was taken, as I said before, it was 4-3 to recommend the board deny the variance. And, further discussion before the vote basically said, if the request hadn't been for such a large building, it might have gone the other way because it was a very close vote.
Any questions anybody has? So the Plan Commission has voted 4-3 to deny the variance. Am I correct?
To recommend non-support.
Recommend that.
Yeah,
There was a letter also from Liberty Park Development
that's right.
recommending non-support.
Okay.
As a condition, as a variance, though, that doesn't usually have any bearing on it.
No, it's not supposed to
Yeah.
have bearing.
All right,
Doesn't
is there-
stop them.
Is there a motion?
I don't know, I mean, since it was, maybe the board members have some other discussion they would
Anybody
like
have any
to talk
questions?
about.
Did the planning commission propose a smaller building to the, applicants?
We suggested it.
what, 24 by 24 or?
No,
What is the normal?
what would be allowed normally on, they made actually several suggestions, those that were reluctant to support it. One of the suggestions that they made was a smaller building. Normally on a vacant lot, a structure of only 120 square feet would be allowed with an over-the-counter permit and an 8-foot 6-inch high height. This building is 2 stories high and a total of over 1,000 square feet and exceeds, it's, I believe, just under 25 feet tall, was it? I don't have it right in front of me. Another suggestion that was made is, seeing as how it is a vacant lot and it does meet the standards for buildability, if you will, if they would increase their plan only slightly and put in running water and sewer, thereby making it a living space, it would be an over-the-counter permit. The other hesitance that those commissioners who voted for non-support was that it wasn't necessarily just a variance for size. They wanted the lot to be varied to allow electricity, to exceed the height, to exceed the glazing, and the size of the door, and have multiple doors instead of just a service door and a small garage door. So we just, those of us who voted against it, and I am in that group, just thought that it was a request for, instead of minimal relief from a hardship, a request for what they wanted.
And I was one of the minority on that one. It was I think it's a very interesting issue. It was very well, fully debated by the Plan Commission. Everybody, to a person, did their homework. I'm continuously impressed with how much work the commissioners on the Plan Commission go into, from not only consulting with the powers that be at the county level, going out to the properties, looking at every available source. I agree with Nancy that the relief, had it been more in line with compatible infill, meaning a smaller building, would, I think, have swung the vote the other way. My vote to support the variance was based on the idea that the ultimate intent of the zoning statute, which one of the plan commissioners went so far as to get directly from the county's zoning department, which is basically, they don't want to have a big building put on a lot as a storage shed, basically. And yes, this would be a big building, but insofar as, the fact that it's across the road from the house seemed to be that it fell within the intent, it did not fall outside the intent of the statute in this case. I find it very difficult to not agree, and I do agree with what the 4 commissioners said, and it's maybe not a coincidence too that the 3 dissenters were the least experienced people on the board, on the commission, excuse me, and that the 4 people who did vote to deny the variance were obviously the more experienced, and that might say a lot as well. So,
Okay.
but we're all learning.
All right, any other questions anybody has or comments? All right, the chair will entertain a motion.
You're looking at me. I will move that the board have Bud send a letter of non-support for the Zelnio variance for the reasons that it does not meet all three criteria defining variance, and that the request is in excess of minimum relief.
Is there a second?
I'll say it.
Second by Forkard. Discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
I'm gonna be consistent and just.
Okay. Motion carries 4-1. All right, going on to the next item, the Bayview conditional use permit. Nancy?
Oh, this one was much happier. We reviewed the very well documented conditional use request, and the wishes of the commission were to have the board send a letter of support with the following conditions. They would like to see a rain garden installed in the water filtration zone as opposed to lawn, and a barricade installed between Bayview and the Kurtz lot, and to remove any obstructions hindering the view at the exit to Highway 42. And the vote was 6. I abstained because my brother is involved with the rebuilding of the deck.
Okay. Jim, you want to make a comment on this at this point, or?
I would just say that, thank you for taking the time to go over this and at the plan commission level as well. I don't think that we have any problem with any of the conditions that were suggested.
I would make a motion to send a letter of support for the Bayview conditional use for marina expansion.
I'll second that.
Second by Kafotos. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Going on to number 11, economic development.
One
Go-
thing.
go ahead.
That's scheduled already for RPC, is it not? Right, the 6th of March. March 6th? Okay.
All right, going on to the economic development request. The committee met last night. We met with Darcy Pilz, introduced herself as the new coordinator for Door County North. And then we had 3 agendized items. The first one was to release the funds for one phase in the development of a community kitchen. And then John Bacon was here seeking support for his, the proposed Grand Traverse Islands National Lakeshore. And then the discussion to schedule a roundtable discussion for possible funding and related informational sources for local businesses. We'll go to the first one. Susan, I see you wanted to make a comment on this?
Yeah.
This isn't so much about the kitchen itself, it's about the money, and I know this came up at the meeting last night, but I wanted to have the board aware of this too, and that is that what came up, that what I brought up last night about this was that the money from the economic development part of the budget is already spent, and then the question was, where's this money coming from? And Bud said that it's coming from the unallocated funds, so the $393,000. So my question is whether or not, I mean, how are you going to handle using that money? Is it just whenever you need it, you'll go to there and take that money out of that 393? Will there be a budgeting process? Will the economic development line become over budget and show that way? How will we track what you're doing with the 392,000? That's the question.
Okay. Back to the board. decision last night was to request the board release $5,250 for step 1, 2, and 3 of phase 1. Mary Pat indicated that she would be able to start this in April, and then if those 3 phases indicated that the project had very little chance of proceeding, we would at that point in time just opt out. There are 2 other phases, or 2 other steps, 4 and 5. If those were to be exercised, obviously, the Plan Commission, or excuse me, the Economic Development Committee would come back and request the additional funds. It would total, as was put in the request in the budget, it would total $7,500. Go ahead.
Economic development does still have funds. They have not spent the budgeted money.
What is it?
After we pared down everything by 30%.
Yes.
At the meeting on December 2nd. Econ Development now has $21,949 in that account,
Yeah,
made up of Humane Society, Gills Rock Fireworks Service Club, Historical Society, porta potties at the Information Center, and $14,000 for Door North.
right.
So that is the amount that was in the budget, and then after that was all done, the fire station and the Ellis Bay Harbor were adjusted also, not in economic development. $28,701 were moved to an account to apply to 2015. In the minutes toward the end of that meeting, I got it in the notes that the money for the community kitchen would come from reserves. That was noted at the meeting. There wasn't a motion to that effect, but the discussion was that if the program went through, that amount would come out of the reserves.
The reserves, meaning,
And
because I think the money that Susie is referring to was put into capital reserve and contingency and the fire truck.
correct.
Correct, okay. And the reserves you're talking about where this will come out of is from,
Do you mean reserve or do you mean contingency?
She said the 392,000 from that, he said.
I'd have to look at the minutes, but I think contingency might have been the exact
Yeah,
word
I believe it continues.
that was used in the discussion.
And the 250 has already come out of that 392,000, correct?
No.
No?
no, that was the loan.
It was decided that it would be divided 1/3, 2/3.
Right.
And I don't remember which 1/3 or 2/3 goes to reserve and contingency, but,
But then later on, it was decided to borrow for the truck.
Right, I do
So-
remember that now, right. Okay,
Yeah, it's because we went ahead for the total $250 for the truck and borrowed that money.
okay. I'm still a little bit confused because my understanding is reserve is capital reserve and that money is going to actually be allocated for specific items.
the 15's coming out of contingency.
The contingency was the
Okay,
correct
okay,
word used.
okay. That, I'm more comfortable with that, okay.
Now, in answer to her question as to how that will be tracked, will that be included in the financial report that we get every month?
Yes, Mary Pat will submit billings that'll come obviously to the town, and it goes through the normal
Okay.
process.
It'll be reflected in your bills paid.
Yeah.
Okay, and the balance left in that capital reserve and contingency account will be shown where?
They have separate line items.
They're totally separate line items in the budgeting.
In the budget,
Right.
but they are available.
They are available, and actually, we could simply ask Janet to, well, not simply ask, but just ask Janet to go ahead and just list those on a monthly basis.
Okay, because that'll take care of what Susie asked.
Can you just tell us where it is on the budget, because I have it right here, where's the contingency line that you're talking about? What's that under?
Contingency.
That's not
Contingent,
gonna appear in the paper that you're holding.
right.
Okay, because we've got the total reserve and unallocated, which is 392. So is contingency not part of that somewhere else in here? Not really.
It could be called something different
is
on
called
that
something
piece of
different.
paper than what it is.
This is the budget that I imagine you're all working from, but I don't
You
know.
got a copy of it?
This is the 2014 budget. I'm just wondering, where's contingency?
This was all done after that document came out there, so this is a financial report, so no, I don't have the budget itself here.
So that budget online is not the final one then?
Right, what you have. Am I correct?
The one that's posted online, I thought that was the final budget. Is it, Janet?
It should be the one with the adjustments on it.
Yeah,
Right.
I've got that. It's got all the little squares around things, yes. So I'm just wondering where contingency is.
Okay,
I know. After the meeting, we'll talk.
yep. We'll get that information for you. Trust me, there's nothing under the table. It's been suggested. Okay, any other questions from the board? Then I would make the motion to release the funds of $5,250 for the step 1 and 2 and 3 of phase 1 for the community kitchen.
I'll second.
Discussion. All-
One
Go
more,
ahead.
one more question. Where was it determined that this would come out of contingency? Was that at a board meeting or at the economic meeting?
It was this
Not the-
December
not
2nd, finance/town board meeting.
Okay,
Yeah.
I must have been asleep.
It's in the notes.
Okay.
It's in the notes at the end, and I didn't put it in the exact
Okay.
minutes.
Okay, I trust you, I do. Okay.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. The second item was that John Bacon was here, and I believe everybody on the board has had that.
You should probably make a motion to actually go with the program.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Make a separate motion to
Right.
enter into the contract.
Yep, I'll make a motion that we enter into the contract with Mary Pat Carlson for the proposed community kitchen consulting work. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Discussion. Thank you for that. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Going on to the support for the proposed Grand Traverse Islands National Lakeshore. I believe the board previously got the information on this. The Economic Development looked at it last night and voted to support, yes, that's it. Request that the town board go on record in support and write a letter in support of this. Are there any questions? John is here tonight if anybody has a question of him at all. Frank?
I think I'd like to summarize this for John, and John, please add anything. From a geographical viewpoint, there are islands alongside of the peninsula that are under the control of the DNR and Fish and Wildlife Service. There's a Lake Michigan Islands Fish and Wildlife Service group, which is principally Plum and Pilot Islands, but two others in that. St. Martin's Island is in the process of being purchased and will be turned over to Fish and Wildlife Service as part of its Lake Michigan Islands group. There are other islands, and of course, starting at St. Martin's and the islands running on up, Poverty, et cetera. All those islands are considered at one time, as John explained, I believe in 1960 or so, as a national park. And John's proposal is that we reinitiate that concept and have a national park called the Grand Traverse Islands Park. This will draw together all of the various organizations that are growing together to protect those islands. and put it under one canopy and under a federal canopy. This is a major, major effort. But maybe the time has come, and I think it should be looked at, and I think the board should support John in his effort, and keep us advised of what's going on. Do you have anything else, Mr.?
Thank you very much for saying that and for recommending to support it. I would just say that any letter, I'm just looking for a letter that I can include with a proposal packet when I contact members of Congress.
Could you step to the microphone, please?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Just relax a minute. I'll do that request. John, would you step to the microphone, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I'm sorry if you didn't, do I have to press the button here?
No.
No?
If
Can
the
anybody
light
hear
is
me?
on, you're on.
Okay. I'm sorry if you didn't get a chance to hear that. But what I'm hoping that the board would be willing to do is to write a letter that supports the creation of a national lakeshore here, or at least the idea of looking further into the possibility of creating that national lakeshore. There are a couple ways that happens. Either Congress declares that it will become a national lakeshore, or the president can declare through an executive order the creation of a national monument. As Frank said, many of the islands will come under federal jurisdiction when control is transferred over to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So there are two possibilities, two paths that we could take for that to happen. In order for either of those paths to move forward, the National Park Service would need to conduct a special resource study to determine its suitability, its significance as a place, which I feel, of course, it would certainly meet the criteria for, and then, of course, feasibility. I mean, is it realistic? And in order for the National Park Service to conduct that special resource study, they need congressional authorization. So I'm hoping to contact my members of Congress and say, I think this is a really great idea. I think you should ask the National Park Service to conduct a special resource study. And I'm hoping, I've been talking to a lot of organizations, and I'm hoping to gain as much support as I can when I contact my members of Congress, so that, it's not just some kid from Door County. So I really appreciate that you're considering this. Thank you very much. And hopefully that answered your question. Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you. Any other questions here? I'll make a motion to instruct the administrator to write a letter of support for the proposed Grand Traverse Islands National Lakeshore.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you very much, John. It's a very big undertaking, and good luck. Okay, going on to number C, the Economic Development Committee last night got in a discussion in reference to the Door County Economic Development Corporation's resolving loan fund, and that spilled over into a rather lengthy discussion about scheduling a, if you will, roundtable discussion and inviting local businesses to come, and also to invite, obviously, Door County Economic Development Corporation, the COIN Group, which is a community organizational investment network that's kind of overseen by the Door County Community Development, or Door County Community Fund. UW, the UW Extension System, the Department of Agriculture, what is it, the Agricultural Department, and see if these people would all come and participate. We picked the date of April 24th, And Janet and I, in a discussion today, thought that it would probably be best, considering who we're inviting. We had a list of about 8 organizations, if you will, to schedule this during the day, because a number of these people would obviously have to travel some distance. So the Economic Development Committee is asking the board to be in support of their scheduling this roundtable discussion on the 24th of April. Time at this point in time to be determined. And Janet would be writing letters and contacting the various organizations. Any questions?
I guess my comment would be there are a number of businesses south of us that have already taken advantage of this revolving loan process. And I think it's time that we take and let our people know that this thing exists and what it entails, so that they can also take advantage of it. Because we have some new businesses starting in Liberty Grove at this moment. And I think if they had access to funds like Wild Tomato did, they would be much better off than, well, maybe they wouldn't, but that would be their decision. And I think they need to be aware of it.
It's an opportunity, I guess, for the, at least from the standpoint of the town board in the town in that sense, to provide our community with the possibility of growing the economy here and, if you will, bettering the lifestyle for the community. If we continue down the current course, I guess, without attracting younger people or attracting businesses, I'm not sure how far we're gonna go. I think a good, sound economic base for this community is very, very important for everybody. And that goes along with the, hopefully with the development of Community Kitchen. I think that there's a very strong possibility there that we can gain some footwork here and gain some ground, so.
There's also, news in the last 2 weeks that's been coming out of Madison in terms of programs that are being developed to keep kids in the area and to give them a higher education. The Department of Agriculture is one group that's involved in it. I mean, we send all this money to NWTC, why can't we take advantage of the programs that are there to help the kids that we have here, without them traveling all the way to Green Bay to take advantage of the programs?
Good point.
Would the emphasis be on new businesses, or would there be some spillover for existing business development?
It's right straight across the board. New, existing, potential, people even thinking about what to do. I don't think limiting it to any one group does anybody any good. It just strikes me as a chance for us to at least try, I guess. I think a lot of, the Economic Development Committee over the last 4 or 5 years has done a lot of work and so forth, and we very honestly haven't seen a lot of fruit on the trees at this point in time, and I think we need to keep trying. It's bottom line. So. Any other questions, comments anybody has? If not, I'll make a motion to approve the request of the Economic Development Committee to schedule April 24th as a roundtable discussion for local businesses to on funding sources and also gaining references for business. Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Operator licenses,
None submitted.
none submitted. Correspondence.
I have a letter here from the Land Trust requesting some assistance or looking into the property on North Sand Bay next to the Olson property out there, and we'll have John Teichler take a look at that too when he comes. He has mentioned those parcels in his letter also that he sent to the Olsons. Notice of March 6th for the RPC for the conditional use hearing for Bayview Resort, along with some proposed text amendments for Gibraltar. And that will be in the afternoon, beginning at 2 o'clock. Wisconsin Town Association magazine, monthly magazine. Notice of pending application for dredging. Bruce and Pamela Warren have applied to DNR for a permit to remove materials from the bed of Lake Michigan. This would be to remove a deteriorating wood crib pier at 10518 South Appleport Lane and restore the lake bed to its natural state. Minutes of the Library Commission from January 21st, 2014. We have a notice from the Village of Sister Bay for shared income for waste from other areas, and the town gets a percentage of the income that is received from outside of the service area. Managed forest land withdrawal worksheet. 1 acre being removed from managed forest on the Knutson parcel on North Bay Road. There's a new program called CMOM, C-M-O-M, that the sewer treatment plant is going to be implementing, and I believe the utility district will have some work to do on this also. Basically establishing certain procedures for management and service, maintenance, et cetera. It's a 8-step, 8-component program here. Goals, organization, legal authority, maintenance activities, design and performance, overflow emergency response, capacity assurance, and annual self-audit. Steve Jacobson sent an email on it. He says this will take about a couple of years to get this whole thing put together with the engineers and DNR. And I believe that's it.
Okay. Future meetings.
Tomorrow, as was mentioned, 6 o'clock with Door County Parks is holding the meeting here at 6 p.m. GEODC meets Sturgeon Bay on the 25th, 10 a.m. Okay. Highway Committee meets March 3rd, 8 a.m. Plan Commission, March 5th, 7 p.m. RPC, March 6th, Bayview Resort at 2 o'clock. Door County North meeting at the fire station on the 18th at 9 a.m. Town Board on the 19th at 7 o'clock. And the candidate forum here at the Town Hall on March 22nd, Saturday at 10 a.m. That's it for March.
Bud, regarding the candidate forum, how do people submit questions for consideration?
They get submitted to the League of Women Voters. Janet's been dealing with them. I don't know if they're.
Oh, okay, I'll ask
If
her.
they're far ahead or the same day.
Okay.
I know they screen them,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
Okay. Payment of bills. It's a long list.
It's February.
Are there any questions? You will note the 11,000 plus for the 199 tons of salt, which I'm sure we're gonna use most of it at the current rate. Also, the $3,800 purchase of grader blades from the county. And the $25 highway repairs at the bottom of the list. I asked Bud about that. At the risk of, would you like to explain that one?
That's drug testing
Yeah.
Oh,
or CDL.
I was going to say you couldn't have repaired a whole lot for $25.
So, any other questions on the bills? If not, I'll move the approval of the bills as presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Farber. Any further discussion? All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion is carried. I believe that takes us to adjournment. I move we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.